Now? Good morning. I would love to share with you the story of a marine reserve of fishing interest located in the northwest of Spain. Galicia is the name of the region, and by the way, is the region I come from. This marine protected area is quite particular because the way of how the governance is performed rely totally or partly in the fishing sector. Let's say that there is a co-management body that is composed in equal part by the authorities and by the fishermen. Fishermen in this region of Spain feel like most of the fishermen in the rest of the world. They have a perpetual feeling of crisis that is prompted by several factors, like the diminishing of the resources, the lower prices in a commodified market, the trend to the privatization of fishing rights, the competition for maritime space by other sectors. All of this has created a fragmentation within the sector. And fishermen feel disempowered. This has created incentives to individualistic behaviors and unfair competition among the sector. So the social tissue is very fragmented. And fishermen used to don't trust on the local government because the authorities tend to be very impulsive with them. So with this context, the main challenge is how to move from this scenario of no apparent solution to a shared vision of the future where the community has benefits for all. Well, this fishermen community started work together with a local NGO called Lawsonet Foundation for Sustainable Fisheries, and they start creating tools for giving visibility to the artisanal fishing. They start targeting marketing schemes, making the value chain shorter. They make workshops in the schools. They create touristic activities, and everything resulted in a better self-esteem of the fishermen. And this creates a good scenario because then they were able to move from this no apparent solution situation to be able to vision a positive change, no? And a scenario of changes that could be positive for the community. And so they came up with the idea of creating a marine protected area of fishing interest where the fishermen would be involved, not only on the designing of this MPA, but also in the management of the resource. This MPA relies on three fundamental pillars that are the participation of the fishing sector since the very beginning in all of the phases of the MPA. The traditional ecological knowledge of the fishermen is the core value of that MPA, and the co-management board, like the joint management doing by the fishermen and by the authorities. But to make these three fundamental pillars work, it was necessary to create a space for open and transparent exchange and trust building. If we take into account the departing scenario, where the sector was very fragmented, there was no trust, it took a lot of time to put everybody together and sharing the vision that they will have around the future. And this is quite interesting because in this setting was the perfect place to discuss about the interpretation of the common resource that the fishermen may have. From this fragmentation sector, this fragmented sector, the general feeling when talking about a common good was that if the resource belongs to all, belongs to no one. So here the question, how to change that perception towards if belongs to all, violating the rules is violating everybody's rights. Then, when the fishermen were able to visualize these two scenarios, they were able to put in a situation where they can choose whether to go towards the individual behavior and the unfair competition that would benefit some of them, maybe those that are able to break in the rules, but what will be the future for the community as a whole. Or visualizing a more positive vision and future for the community as a whole. That will be the collaboration and the shared responsibility that will create more prospects for the future for all. Once they agree that that's the vision that they want, then is the moment to put all the knowledge together. Of course, it's not easy because an MPA in this case means a social change, and for a social change you will always find resistance. There will be people that is able to visualize rapidly and marry with the values of that shared future, and there will be others that not, because they see this MPA and shared responsibility as a threat to their let's say, the quota of power. But I can say that in general terms, despite it took like about 300 meetings in 2 years, in the end, in this region of Galicia, right now there is a common understanding of what is a shared resource and how the management should be. So coming back to the traditional ecological knowledge, it was the key for doing everything. When the fishermen put together all the fine knowledge that they have for every species, for every environment, for the different seasons, they realized how powerful this tool is. And they were able to, when you integrate the traditional ecological knowledge into the management of an FPA, you are integrating the vision of sustainability of the fishermen. So they don't want to make rules that don't allow them to make a life with dignity. So it's time consuming, but I think the results of that management plan are more realistic and more genuine. And of course, you need also to work with the scientific community. And the scientists that are involved in that process need to be people with a very open-minded, with no prejudice, and with a feeling of social justice for fishermen. Not all the scientific community will be able to do a work like that, in my opinion. But the result is that when you put together scientific knowledge and local ecological knowledge, you can have a powerful resource. The result that they made here, that they made over there, was a cartography of habitats that fishermen and even the scientific community were very, very surprised about the tiny detail of everything. Then it was the time to create the co-management body. And this was composed by 4 members of the authorities and 4 members of the fishing community. The 4 members of the fishing community were not only for the cooperatives involved on that MPA, but from all over the region, with the idea to defend not only the interests of the fishermen of that, but very important, the MPA, but the interest of the fishermen community as a whole. And the same with authorities. They were people from the local government, from the regional government, from the Minister of Fisheries, and I don't remember now the last one. But let's say that they try to cover, yes, environment, sorry. The Minister of representation from the Minister of Environment, because the idea to have the different, let's say the different views from fishermen and the state. If the fishermen would represent an interest of the fishing sector, the state needs to represent the interest for the whole citizens. Of course, it's difficult because I can say that worldwide we are living in a moment in a world that we need to rethink the role of the state. But the state should be the agency that have to take care for the benefit of all the citizens. And this MPA, in that way, allowed to, it was a kind of socio-ecological experiment, because allowed to rethink the role of the different actors involved on this shared responsibility. The reserve was approved in 2003. In the first 2 years, the results were amazing, not only from the biological point of view, where the biomass were increased for the species that were endangered, but, for example, the social conflicts decreased, There was a general feeling of trust. Fishermen had a kind of management culture, and they get more self-esteem. And from the point of view of the other fishermen around this MPA, they feel kind of jealous. They used to say, "Oh, I want to work to be there. I want to have also this successful fisheries management in my region." And that's, I think, is one of the best results, because then this MPA was talking about, were like involved 61 vessels, about 190 fishermen, and 2,000 hectares. And after all of the success, they are trying to extend this MPA, and if they get the approval, we will talk about an MPA of 100,000 hectares, 1,600 fishermen, and around 780 vessels. So that's to give you an idea about the perception of the success and how it's possible to move from a very fragmented and negative situation and no apparent solution situation to a more positive vision of an scenario that will benefit all. I think I'm going to stop here. We can dive deeper in the roundtable sessions. Thank you.
Thanks very much.